My daughter brought a real estate man to my home to sell it. I quietly called my lawyer. She never saw it coming. I was folding towels on a Tuesday morning when my phone rang. The blue towels, the ones my husband bought before he died. They were frayed at the edges, but I could not throw them away. Some things you hold on to because letting go feels like losing the person all over again. The ringtone was my daughter's, a generic chime I never changed because she told me once that custom ringtones were for old people. I was 68 then, I am 72 now. I still think about that comment sometimes when I am alone at night. She said, "Mom, are you home?" I said, "Yes, of course I am home. Where else would I be?" She laughed that quick, sharp laugh she learned from her father, the one that always meant she was about to ask for something. She said, "I want to come by with someone, a friend from work. He wants to see the house, just to look." I said, "Look at what?" She said, "The layout, the bones of the place. He does this thing where he evaluates properties for fun. It helps him relax." I thought that was strange, evaluating houses for fun. But my daughter had always brought strange people into my life. Her college boyfriend who wore sandals in the snow, her second husband who collected vintage toasters, her best friend who believed the moon landing was filmed in a desert in Arizona. I learned to stop questioning. I learned to just make coffee and put out cookies and wait for them to leave. So I said, "Sure, honey, come by. I will make lemonade." She said, "No need for lemonade. We will not stay long. He just wants to walk through real quick, take some notes, look at the basement ceiling, the foundation, things like that." That was the first crack, the basement ceiling. My daughter had never cared about the basement ceiling. She had not been in my basement since she was 16 years old, looking for her winter boots. But I pushed the thought away. I told myself she was just being helpful. She was 43 years old now. Maybe people change. Maybe she finally cared about things like foundation cracks and water stains. I wanted to believe that so badly. So I did. They arrived at 2:15. I know the time because I had just finished my second cup of tea and I looked at the microwave clock. She walked in first, blonde hair pulled back tight, expensive sunglasses on top of her head, a cream-colored blazer that probably cost more than my first car. Behind her came a man, late 50s, gray at the temples, a watch that looked like it could pay off my mortgage. He smiled at me the way people smile at old women in nursing homes, that thin, tight smile that says, "I am being nice, but I am not really seeing you." My daughter said, "This is Mark. Mark is in commercial real estate. He knows everything about property values." I said, "Nice to meet you, Mark." He shook my hand. His palm was dry and cold. Like touching a lizard in a pet store. He looked past my shoulder immediately, his eyes scanning the living room, the crown molding, the windows, the ceiling height. I felt like a piece of furniture in my own home. I asked if they wanted coffee. My daughter said, "No thanks, Mom, we are fine." Mark was already walking toward the kitchen. He opened the pantry door. He looked inside like he was checking for bodies. Then he walked to the back door and looked out at the yard. He pulled out his phone and started typing. Not a quick glance. He was taking notes. Real notes. I asked if he was an inspector or something. He laughed, a short, flat sound. He said, "No, ma'am, I just have a thing for architecture. Old homes like this, they do not make them like this anymore." That was true. They did not make them like my home anymore. My husband and I bought it in 1987. We were young. We were in love. We had a 2-year-old daughter and another baby on the way. The house was a colonial revival with a wraparound porch and a detached garage and a maple tree in the front yard that turned the color of fire every October. We paid $67,000. It felt like a fortune then. We painted every room ourselves. We planted rose bushes along the side fence. We watched our children learn to ride bicycles on the sidewalk out front. That house was not just a building. It was the only place I had ever been truly happy. Mark asked if he could see the basement. My daughter said, "Of course you can." She walked to the basement door and opened it for him, like she owned the place, like she had the right. I followed them down the wooden stairs, the ones my husband refinished with his own hands. The basement smelled like concrete and old paint and the faded memory of laundry detergent. Mark walked to the far wall. He knocked on the foundation with his knuckles. He looked at the support beams. He took more pictures. He asked how old the water heater was. I said I did not know. He asked if there had ever been flooding. I said once in '98, but we fixed it. He looked at my daughter and nodded. Just a small nod, but I saw it. A secret signal. The kind of look two people give each other when they are sharing something they do not want you to hear. My stomach tightened. That old, familiar feeling. The one that comes when your instincts scream at you, but your brain keeps trying to find reasonable explanations. I ignored it. I told myself I was being paranoid. I was just an old woman reading too much into nothing. We went back upstairs. Mark asked to see the second floor, the bedrooms. My daughter said, "Mom, can he just take a quick look?" I said, "Sure, why not?" So I led them up the stairs, past the hallway where my son used to line up his toy cars, past the bathroom where my husband shaved every morning for 43 years, past the guest room that still has my mother's old sewing machine in the corner. I opened the door to the master bedroom, my bedroom. The room where my husband took his last breath on a Tuesday afternoon in March. The room where I still sleep on my side of the bed because moving to the middle feels like admitting he is never coming back. Mark walked in and looked at the closet. He opened the door and looked inside at my clothes, my dresses, my shoes, my winter coats. He actually opened my closet and looked inside. Then he walked to the window and looked out at the backyard. He said the view is nice, mature trees, good privacy. Then he walked out and went to the next bedroom, the one that used to be my daughter's room. The walls were still pink. She had not let me repaint them. She said she wanted to keep her room the same for when she visited. She had not slept in that room for 11 years. Mark finished his walkthrough. He came back downstairs. He shook my hand again, same cold, dry grip. He said, "Thank you, ma'am. This has been very informative." Then he looked at my daughter and said, "I will send over the comps by Friday." She said, "Perfect, thank you, Mark." Just like that, like they were closing a business deal. Like I was not standing right there in my own living room holding a dish towel. They left. The door closed. The silence came back. That thick, heavy silence that lives in my house now. I stood in the middle of the living room and tried to breathe. Something was wrong. I could feel it in my chest. That tight pulling sensation like a rope being drawn around my ribs. I told myself to stop. I told myself my daughter loved me. She was just being helpful. She had a friend who liked old houses. That was all. But I could not let it go. That night, I barely slept. I kept running through the visit in my head. The way Mark looked at the foundation. The way he typed notes on his phone. The way my daughter did not introduce him as a friend from work. She just said, "a friend." Not a name, not a company, just a friend. The way she opened doors in my house without asking. The way he looked at my closet like he was measuring it for something. At 3 a.m, I got up. I made a cup of tea and sat at the kitchen table. The same table where my children did their homework. The same table where my husband and I paid bills and argued about vacation plans and held hands when we were too tired to talk. I looked at my phone. I scrolled through old photos. Pictures of my daughter on her first day of kindergarten. Pictures of her at her high school graduation. Pictures of her wedding day. She looked so happy then. So did I. I thought about calling her the next morning, just to ask, just to say, "Hey, honey, what was that about?" But I knew how that conversation would go. She would get defensive. She would say I was being dramatic. She would say I did not trust her. She would hang up and not call for 2 weeks, and then act like nothing happened when she finally did. That was our pattern. That was who we had become. So I did something else instead. I called my lawyer. Not my regular lawyer. I had not needed a lawyer since my husband died, and I had to deal with probate court. I called a different lawyer, a woman named Diane who handled elder law. I had met her at a community center event 3 years ago. She gave a talk about protecting assets in retirement. I took her card because I am old, and I take cards for everything: grocery delivery, lawn service, legal advice. That is what you do when you get old. You collect cards because you never know who you might need. Diane answered on the second ring. I told her what happened. She asked a lot of questions. Did my daughter have power of attorney? No. Was my name the only name on the deed? Yes. Had I signed anything recently? No. Had I noticed any missing documents around the house? I thought about it. I said no. But then I remembered something. A few weeks earlier, my daughter had come over while I was at a doctor's appointment. She said she wanted to pick up a photo album. I gave her the key. She was gone when I got back. The photo album was still on the shelf. I told Diane that. There was a pause on the phone. Then Diane said something that made my blood run cold. She said, "I need you to check your filing cabinet, the one where you keep your important papers, your deed, your will, your insurance policies. Go look right now and call me back." I went to my home office, a small room off the kitchen that used to be a pantry. My filing cabinet was a gray metal thing from Office Depot. I bought it 20 years ago. I kept my life inside it. Tax returns, birth certificates, the deed to my house, my marriage license, my husband's death certificate, my will. I pulled open the top drawer. Everything was there, but something felt different. The folders were not in the order I kept them. I am particular about that. I alphabetize everything. The deed folder was in the wrong spot. It was pushed to the back instead of the front. I pulled it out. I opened the folder. The deed was gone. I checked again. I pulled out every folder in that drawer. I checked the second drawer, the third drawer. I got down on my hands and knees and looked under the filing cabinet. Nothing. The deed to my house was gone. The house my husband and I bought together. The house where I raised my children. The house where I planned to die. It was just gone. A piece of paper that represented everything I had worked for. Stolen. I called Diane back. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. I told her the deed was missing. She asked when I had last seen it. I said I did not remember. Maybe a year ago, maybe more. I am old. I do not look at my deed every day. She asked if anyone else had access to my filing cabinet. I thought about it. My daughter had a key to my house. My son had a key too, but he lived in Oregon. He had not been home in 2 years. I gave my daughter the key to my filing cabinet 6 years ago when I had surgery. She needed to get my insurance information. I never asked for the key back. Diane said, "Do not panic yet, but I need you to listen to me very carefully. Do not confront your daughter. Do not ask her about the deed. Do not mention any of this to anyone. Act normal. Go about your life. Let her think everything is fine. I am going to start working on this. I need you to come to my office tomorrow morning. Bring everything you have, your ID, your tax records, anything that proves ownership of the house. We are going to put a freeze on your property records so no one can transfer the title without your signature." I said okay. I hung up the phone. I sat down on the floor of my office, right there on the carpet, and I started to cry. Not the quiet crying you do when you are sad, the ugly crying, the kind where your whole body shakes and you cannot breathe and you make sounds you did not know you could make. I cried for my husband who was not there to protect me. I cried for my daughter who I raised and loved and fed and clothed and sacrificed for. I cried for myself because I felt like the biggest fool in the world. I thought about all the times I helped her, all the times I babysat her children for free, all the times I gave her money when she was short on rent, all the times I co-signed for things I should not have co-signed for, all the times I defended her to my husband when he said she was entitled. She is not entitled, I would say. She is just young. She will figure it out. But she never figured it out. She just got older. And her hand stayed out, and I kept filling it. The next morning I went to Diane's office. It was in a strip mall next to a dentist and a dry cleaner. Not fancy, just a door with her name on it in gold letters. I sat in a plastic chair and waited. A young woman with purple hair brought me coffee in a foam cup. I drank it even though it tasted like burnt motor oil. Diane came out 15 minutes later. She was a short woman with gray hair cut close to her head. She wore no makeup and sensible shoes. She looked exactly like the kind of person you want on your side when your family is trying to steal your house. She sat down across from me. She had a yellow legal pad and a pen. She said, "Tell me everything again, from the beginning." So I did. I told her about the Tuesday morning phone call, about Mark and his cold hands and his notes, about the missing deed, about the key I never asked to get back. She wrote everything down. Then she asked me a question I was not ready for. She asked if my daughter had ever done anything like this before. I thought about it. I thought about the time my daughter convinced me to refinance the house 10 years ago. She said interest rates were low. She said I could save money every month. She brought a man to my house then too, a loan officer. He had me sign papers at the kitchen table. I did not read them carefully. I trusted her. I assumed she was looking out for me. A few years later, I found out she had taken $10,000 in cash out of the equity. She said it was for home improvements. The only home improvement I saw was a new patio set at her house. I told Diane about that. She nodded. She did not look surprised. She asked if there was anything else. I thought harder. There was the time my daughter added herself as a beneficiary on my life insurance policy without telling me. I only found out because the insurance company sent a confirmation letter to my address. When I asked her about it, she said she was just trying to help. She said I needed to update my beneficiaries anyway. She said she would take care of everything for me. I let her, because I was tired, because I was alone, because trusting her was easier than fighting her. Diane put down her pen. She looked at me with eyes that had seen too much. She said, I am going to be honest with you. What your daughter is doing is called elder financial abuse. It is a crime. She is trying to steal your house. That man, Mark, is probably a real estate agent or an investor. They were doing a walkthrough to assess the property value. The missing deed means she is either trying to forge a transfer or she is planning to sell the house out from under you. Either way, she is not acting in your interest. She is acting in hers. I knew that. Deep down, I had known it since the moment Mark walked into my bedroom and opened my closet. But hearing someone say it out loud made it real. Made it permanent. Made it something I could not take back or explain away. My daughter. My only daughter. The baby I held in my arms and nursed and rocked to sleep. The little girl who used to crawl into my bed after nightmares. The teenager who cried on my shoulder when her first boyfriend broke her heart. That same person was trying to take my home. My only home. The only thing I had left. Diane filed a police report that afternoon. She also filed an emergency motion with the county recorder's office to put a freeze on my property title. She said no one could transfer or sell my house without my physical presence and a notarized signature. She said it would buy us time. She also recommended I change my locks, all of them, and install a security camera, and take back the key to my filing cabinet, and stop answering my daughter's calls. I did all of it. I paid a locksmith $300 to change every lock on every door. I bought 2 cameras from Best Buy. A young man from the Geek Squad installed them for me. He was very kind. He asked if I was okay. I lied and said I was fine. I took back my filing cabinet key. I put it on a chain around my neck. I sleep with it now. It presses into my chest when I lie on my stomach. It feels like a medal from a war I did not want to fight. My daughter called me 4 days later. I did not answer. She called again, and again, and again. 8 calls in 2 hours. Then the text started. Mom, why aren't you answering? Mom, I'm worried.
Mom, call me back, please. Mom, it's important. Mom, I need to talk to you about the house. I did not respond. I sat on my couch and watched my phone light up over and over. Each notification felt like a small knife, not sharp enough to kill, just sharp enough to hurt. Then she showed up at my door. I watched her on the camera. She was standing on my front porch, the same porch where she used to sell lemonade for $1 a cup. She looked angry. Her arms were crossed. Her jaw was tight. She knocked, hard. Not a friendly knock. A knock that meant business. She knocked again. Then she started yelling through the door. Mom, I know you are in there. I can see your car. Open the door. We need to talk. I did not open the door. I sat on my couch and watched her on my phone screen. She looked like a stranger, a woman I did not recognize. Her face was hard. Her eyes were cold. She kept knocking and yelling for 10 minutes. Then she pulled out her phone and made a call. I do not know who she called. Probably Mark. Probably her husband. Probably someone who would tell her what to do next. She paced back and forth on my porch. She kicked a potted plant, my geranium. It tipped over and spilled dirt everywhere. She looked at it like it was my fault. Then she got in her car and drove away. I cried again after she left, not because I was sad, because I was furious, because I was tired.
Because I was 72 years old, and I should be enjoying my grandchildren and gardening and playing bridge at the senior center. Instead, I was hiding in my own house from my own daughter. Instead, I was watching security footage like a prisoner waiting for the guards to come back. The police went to talk to her 2 days later. Diane arranged it. An officer from the Elder Abuse Unit, a woman named Detective Rodriguez. She was young, maybe 30, but she had that look, the look of someone who has seen terrible things and decided to do something about them. She went to my daughter's house. She asked questions about the deed, about Mark, about the walkthrough. My daughter lied. Of course she lied. She said she did not know anything about a missing deed. She said Mark was just a friend. She said I was confused. She said I had memory problems. She said I was probably just losing things because of my age. I do not have memory problems. I can tell you what I had for breakfast on March 12th, 1994. I can tell you the name of every teacher my daughter ever had, from kindergarten through 12th grade. I can tell you the exact date my husband proposed to me, August 17th, 1972. I remember everything. That is the curse of getting old. Your body falls apart, but your memory stays sharp. You remember every kindness. You remember every betrayal. You remember every single thing you wish you could forget. Detective Rodriguez did not believe my daughter. She had seen this before. Too many times. Adult children who got greedy, who could not wait for their inheritance, who decided they deserved what their parents had worked for. She told me later that my daughter had already contacted a title company. She had tried to transfer the deed into her name using a forged signature. The only reason it did not go through was because I had frozen the property records. My daughter was days away from owning my house, days away from selling it out from under me, days away from putting me on the street. I sat in Diane's office when I heard that news. I did not cry. I did not scream. I just sat there, numb, hollow, like someone had reached inside me and pulled out everything that mattered. Diane asked if I wanted to press charges. She said I had a strong case: forgery, attempted fraud, elder abuse. My daughter could go to prison. She could lose her real estate license if she had one. She could be ordered to pay restitution. She could be forced to undergo mental health treatment. Diane laid out all the options like a menu at a restaurant. Choose your consequence. How would you like your justice served? I asked for time to think. Diane said take a week, no more. The longer I waited, the harder it would be. I went home. I sat in my living room. I looked at the walls. The walls my husband painted. The floors we refinished together. The windows where I watched my children play in the snow. The kitchen where I cooked 1,000 dinners. The bedroom where I fell in love every single day for 43 years. This was my home. Not my daughter's, not Mark's, not anyone else's. Mine. I thought about pressing charges. I thought about watching my daughter handcuffed in a courtroom. I thought about her children, my grandchildren. What would they think? What would they say? Their mother in handcuffs because of their grandmother? That would destroy them. That would tear our family apart in ways that could never be repaired. But then I thought about what she tried to do to me. She tried to take my home. She tried to make me homeless. She tried to steal the only thing I had left after her father died. She did not care about me. She cared about money. She cared about what she could get. She cared about herself. That week was the longest of my life. I did not sleep. I did not eat. I just walked through my house like a ghost, touching things, remembering things, trying to decide if I still had a daughter or if I had already lost her a long time ago and just did not want to admit it. I called my son in Oregon. I told him everything. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said something I will never forget. He said, "Mom, she has always been like this. You just never wanted to see it." He was right. I never wanted to see it. I made excuses for her. I enabled her. I bailed her out. I gave her chance after chance after chance because she was my daughter and I loved her, and I thought love would eventually fix her. But love does not fix people who do not want to be fixed. Love just makes you blind. Love just makes you vulnerable. Love just gives them more ways to hurt you. I decided not to press charges, not because she deserved mercy, because I could not bear to watch my grandchildren suffer. They did not ask for any of this. They were innocent. They loved their mother. They loved me. Putting their mother in prison would break their hearts in ways that would never heal. I could not do that to them. So I chose silence. I chose peace. I chose to walk away instead of burning everything down. But I did not give her my house. Diane helped me file a civil lawsuit, a restraining order, a legal document that said my daughter was not allowed within 500 feet of me or my property. She was not allowed to contact me. She was not allowed to try to claim any ownership of my house. The judge granted everything. My daughter was served with the papers at her front door, in front of her husband, in front of her children, in front of her neighbors. She tried to call me after that, over and over. I did not answer. She sent letters. I returned them unopened. She showed up at my church. I left through the back door. She sent her husband to talk to me. I told him to leave or I would call the police. She sent her children, my grandchildren, little faces I had known since they were born. They knocked on my door crying, "Grandma, please, please just talk to her. Please just forgive her."
It nearly killed me to close that door in their faces, but I did it, because forgiving her would just be the beginning. Forgiving her would mean letting her back in, and letting her back in would mean giving her another chance to destroy me. I am 72 years old. I do not have any more chances left. That was 8 months ago. My house is still mine. The rose bushes are still blooming along the side fence. The maple tree turned red last October. It will turn red again this year. I still sleep on my side of the bed. I still fold the blue towels. I still drink tea at the kitchen table at 3 in the morning when I cannot sleep. But something is missing. Something is broken. Something that cannot be fixed with a restraining order or a deed freeze or a security camera. My daughter is still out there, living her life, raising her children, going to her job, pretending she did nothing wrong. And I am in here, alone, waiting, wondering if she ever thinks about me, wondering if she ever feels guilty, wondering if she ever lies awake at night and remembers the woman who changed her diapers and kissed her scraped knees and stayed up all night when she had the flu. I wonder if she misses me. I miss her. That is the cruelest part. After everything she did, after everything she tried to take from me, I still miss my little girl. The phone never rings anymore. Not from her, not from anyone. Just the silence. That thick, heavy silence. Some nights I sit in the dark and talk to my husband. I tell him I am sorry. I tell him I tried. I tell him I do not know where we went wrong. He does not answer. He never answers. But sometimes I feel him, a warmth on my shoulder, a gentle pressure like a hand. And I close my eyes and pretend we are young again. Pretend we are standing in this empty house before the furniture arrived. Pretend we are dreaming about the life we would build together. Pretend we do not know how it ends. But I do know how it ends. It ends with an old woman in an empty house, a deed around her neck, a camera at her door, and a daughter who became a stranger. That is the ending. That is the whole story. There is no lesson, no redemption, no final hug where everything is forgiven. There is just the quiet, the waiting, the knowing that some betrayals cut so deep they never heal. They just scar over, and you learn to live with the scar. You learn to touch it when no one is watching. You learn to remember what caused it. And you learn to keep going anyway, because stopping is not an option. I am still here, still standing, still in my house. They did not take it from me. They did not win. But they took something else, something I cannot name, something I cannot get back. And that is the truth of it. That is what I carry with me every single day. The weight of a daughter's love turned to poison. The weight of a family broken beyond repair. The weight of growing old and realizing that the people you trusted most were the ones holding the knife. The blue towels are almost gone now, frayed beyond use. I will have to buy new ones soon. That feels right somehow. Letting go of the old, replacing it with something new. Something that does not carry the memory of him or her or anyone else. Just a clean, fresh start. A new set of towels. A new lock on the door. A new silence to get used to. My phone just buzzed. I looked at the screen. A text from a number I do not recognize. It says, "Mom, please, I am sorry. Please, just talk to me." I deleted. I put the phone down. I pick up my tea. It is cold. It has been cold for hours. I drink it anyway, because some things you learn to swallow, even when they taste terrible, even when they burn on the way down,
even when you know they will sit in your stomach like a stone, until you finally close your eyes and let the darkness take you home.